At some point, someone older than you said it. Maybe a parent, maybe a relative, maybe just someone who felt entitled to comment on your life choices.
Renting is just throwing money away. You're paying someone else's mortgage. You'll never build any wealth that way.
And maybe you nodded, or maybe you pushed back, but the idea stuck because it sounds so logical, so obvious, so financially responsible.
But what if it's wrong? Or at least, what if it's far more complicated than that?
I'm Emma.
And I'm Marcus. And today, we're asking the question that a generation of renters has been made to feel guilty about. Is renting really throwing money away? To understand why so many people believe renting is wasteful, we need to understand where the idea came from. Because it didn't appear from nowhere, it came from a very specific historical moment.
Tell me.
After the Second World War, in many Western countries, particularly the US and UK, there was a massive push towards home ownership. Government policies, subsidized mortgages, tax incentives. Owning a home became not just a financial decision, but a cultural symbol, a sign of success, stability, adulthood.
And that generation, our grandparents, our parents, bought houses that went up enormously in value over the following decades. So for them, the advice wasn't wrong. They bought, the market went up, and they built wealth.
But here's the problem. The conditions that made home ownership such a reliable path to wealth in the 1960s and 70s and 80s, low house prices relative to incomes, low interest rates, predictable job stability, those conditions no longer exist in most major cities.
In many cities now, the ratio of house price to average income is 5, 8, 10 times what it was for the previous generation. What took our parents 3 or 4 years of saving to afford now takes 15 or 20.
So the advice, buy, don't rent, was developed for a completely different economic reality, and it's being passed down unchanged to people living in a fundamentally different world.
Which doesn't mean buying is wrong. It means the blanket statement that renting is always wasteful is almost certainly too simple.
Let's be fair, there are genuine, serious arguments for buying rather than renting, and I think it's important to take them seriously rather than dismiss them.
Okay, make the case.
Argument 1. Building equity. When you pay rent, that money goes to your landlord. When you pay a mortgage, a portion of every payment reduces the amount you owe, which means you're gradually building ownership of an asset. Over time, if the property holds or increases its value, you're accumulating wealth.
And that accumulated wealth becomes meaningful. It's the deposit for your next home, it's security in retirement, it's something you can pass on.
Argument 2. Stability and control. When you own your home, nobody can raise your rent arbitrarily. Nobody can ask you to leave at the end of a lease. You can paint the walls whatever color you want. You can get a dog. You can renovate. There's a quality of life argument for ownership that has nothing to do with money.
This one resonates with me. I've moved 4 times in the last 8 years because of rent increases or landlord selling. That instability has a real cost, not just financial, but emotional.
Argument 3. Forced saving. For many people, a mortgage functions as a form of enforced saving. You have to make that payment every month. Whereas if you're renting and theoretically investing the difference, in practice, many people just spend this difference.
That's honest. The discipline argument is real.
And argument 4, inflation protection. As inflation rises, your mortgage payment stays fixed if you have a fixed rate. But rents tend to rise with the inflation. So over time, owning can become relatively cheaper compared to renting.
Okay, now, let me make the case for renting, because I think it's more compelling than people give it credit for.
Go ahead.
The first thing people miss when they compare renting to buying is all the hidden costs of ownership. The mortgage payment is not the full cost of owning a home. There's property tax, building insurance, maintenance and repairs, service charges if you're in a flat. These can add up to a significant amount every year, often 1 to 2% of the property's value.
So a home worth $500,000 might cost $5,000 to $10,000 a year just in ownership costs beyond the mortgage.
Exactly. When you rent, your landlord covers most of that. When the boiler breaks, that's not your problem. When the roof leaks, not your problem. These are real costs that get completely ignored when people say your rent money just disappears.
What else?
Flexibility. And I think this is undervalued, especially for younger people. The world we live in now rewards flexibility. People change careers, cities, countries. If you own a home, moving is expensive, slow, and complicated. If you rent, you can be somewhere new in a month. That flexibility has genuine economic value. It allows you to follow opportunities.
There's data on this actually. Research has found that homeowners are less likely to move for better job opportunities because the transaction costs of selling and buying are so high, which can have a real impact on lifetime earnings.
And then there's the opportunity cost argument. The money you put into a deposit, which in many cities might be $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, could be invested in a diversified index fund, for example. And over 20 years, the returns on that investment might outperform the returns from property appreciation.
The classic comparison: buy a house versus rent and invest the difference.
Which is where the maths gets really interesting and really complicated, because it depends entirely on the specific market, the time period, the interest rates, the investment returns, and a dozen other variables.
Which is why the answer to "is renting throwing money away?" is almost always, it depends. Let's talk about the actual numbers, because I think most people have never done the real comparison. They've just assumed buying is better.
Walk me through it.
Let's take a simplified example. Imagine a property worth $400,000. To buy it, you need a 20% deposit, $80,000 plus buying costs of maybe $10,000, so $90,000 upfront.
That's already a significant sum that most people don't have easily accessible.
Now your mortgage payment on the remaining $320,000 at current interest rates, let's say 5% over 25 years, might be around $1,900 a month. But you also have property tax, insurance, maintenance, add another $500 a month. So your real cost of ownership is around $2,400 a month.
Now compare that to renting a similar property for, let's say, $1,800 a month. Renting is cheaper by $600 a month. That's $7,200 a year.
And if you invest that $600 a month plus had invested the $90,000 deposit in a fund returning 7% annually over 25 years, the numbers can get very interesting.
The point isn't that one is always better. The point is that when you do the full maths, including all the hidden costs, the gap between renting and buying is often much smaller than people assume. And in some markets and situations, renting genuinely comes out ahead.
It depends on how long you stay, how much the property appreciates, what you do with the money you save by renting, and what the local rental and property markets look like.
Which is why blanket statements like renting is throwing money away are almost never actually true in all cases. Okay, where do you stand? Because I know you have strong opinions about this.
I do. I believe in owning long term. Not because renting is wasteful, I hope we've established by now that it isn't, but because for me, personally, the stability and the forced saving element are important. I don't fully trust myself to consistently invest the difference, and I value the security of knowing I can't be asked to leave.
That's honest. The behavioral finance argument is real. For many people, a mortgage is the only savings discipline that actually works.
What about you?
I'm genuinely more ambivalent. I've rented my entire adult life, and I don't feel like I've wasted money. I've had the flexibility to live in different cities, follow opportunities, not be tied down. But I also don't have the asset that homeowners have, so I can see both sides.
And I think that's actually the honest answer. It depends on the person, the city, the market, and what you value. Stability and wealth building. Lean towards buying when you can. Flexibility and liquidity, renting might make more sense.
The worst thing you can do is make the decision based on guilt. Because someone told you renting is throwing money away and you felt judged. That's not a financial argument. That's a social pressure argument.
And social pressure is a terrible basis for the biggest financial decision of your life.
So, is renting throwing money away?
No, renting is paying for housing, which is a fundamental human need. The money isn't wasted, it buys you a place to live, flexibility, and freedom from the hidden costs of ownership.
Buying is also not automatically better. It depends on the market, your financial situation, how long you plan to stay, and what you do with money you would have put into a deposit.
The real question isn't should I rent or buy? The real question is, given my specific situation, my city, my income, my plans, and my values, what makes most sense for me?
And the answer might be different from what your parents assumed, and that's okay.
We want to hear from you. Do you rent or own, and what has your experience been? Tell us in the comments.
Subscribe for more Real Talk English. New episode every week.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.